And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Josh, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the number's 189? 189, what is it?
I just started freezing up, like thinking math, but I know it's not that.
Oh, my God. Come on. Not only is it the actual number of the UFC that had one of the world's greatest fights between Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald, it is episode 189 of the Weighing In podcast. You should know that. We are back to talk about the fights that are going to be coming up. Some of the news, it's our midweek edition. Are you prepared to do battle with the brain?
The brain? Where? Who?
That's
what?
you. I was calling you the brain.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you prepared to do battle with the brain is what you were trying to say.
That's what I should have said, yeah.
It didn't come out right, yeah. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, as well as all of our audio platforms on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes. Those are our two major ones, is iTunes and Spotify. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button there. You guys can listen to us in traffic and in the car, wherever you guys would like. Wherever you desire to listen to us. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to this thing. And this is the podcast where we talk, and I'm always right. John's normally wrong, and you guys just learn to deal with it, and that's how this whole thing works.
Hold on. Why are they having to deal with you supposedly being always right, and I'm supposedly always wrong?
It's hard for people to understand that majority of the time I'm right.
Majority. What do you consider a majority? Like 1 or 2%?
That could be more than your percentage. Oh man, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to talk about the show this week. I'm pumped about all the things that are coming up, and yeah, I think there's a lot of good things coming up.
A lot of good things coming up.
I'm excited
with all this stuff
coming
up.
Things.
The year is ending with a bang.
Yes.
I mean, a whole lot of good stuff. So it's MMA in the
we're
future.
Gonna be
it's looking good.
We had a meeting today with Showtime, and we are going to be very busy until December. It's going to be busy.
Yeah, busy.
I'm pumped. I'm ready. I'm excited. All right, but let's get right into it. Let's go into the UFC this weekend coming up, and you've got Marina Rodriguez versus Mackenzie Dern. What a good fight! It should be a good fight. It sounds like it's going to be a good fight. Mackenzie Dern is her progress.
But we just jinxed the hell out of it.
Yes, we did. 100% we did. I don't know. I can honestly say that Mackenzie Dern really hasn't been in a bad fight. I mean, she's had some dominant performances in terms of one-sided and lopsided with her submissions.
Yep.
And dominating, getting the takedown and dominating those positions and then getting the submission. But overall, she's had some pretty damn good fights. She's a dog, man. She's someone's very competitive, goes out there and gets after it. I think she always knows. She's got that jiu-jitsu thing in her back pocket that just
that's a big back pocket, dude.
Yeah, and none of these females
are
anywhere near her level on the ground.
That's the big difference. Exactly what you're saying is she is head and shoulders above every other fighter in her division when it comes to that fight touching the ground. Everybody is in serious danger if they are on the ground with her. Where in the stand-up, I would tell you, at the start of her career, it wasn't too good. It was kind of ugly at times, and it was like, she was diving for, getting clinches, diving for takedowns, just trying to close that gap. I don't have a hat on, but the hat comes off for Jason Perillo because he's done an exceptional job with her. But I can't just give him credit. You got to give her credit because the work that she's had to put in to make those skills actually come alive. And, she's getting good instruction, but she's got to put in the work to make that happen. Look, her stand-up's looking good. And, I'm not saying, look, Marina Rodriguez is a sharper striker overall, but she can handle herself on the feet. And then if it hits the ground, Marina's okay on the ground, but she's not of Mackenzie's level.
Not even close. Not even close. As many people want to say, like there's when people say there's levels to this game, in that jiu-jitsu world, I've trained with some of the best jiu-jitsu players in the world, hands down. And it's just being on the mat with them, just training only jiu-jitsu, no striking involved. You just seem lost out there. And And I've always felt like I had a pretty good grappling game in terms of for MMA.
Oh,
when it came
for MMA,
down,
you got a real good one.
Yeah, for training with them, like it just was like there was just a different level. Now, when you start throwing punches, it becomes a different game. But she's made ever since she had her baby, she's made leaps and bounds in terms of on the stand up. She has gotten so much better on the feet, and her confidence is growing. In fact, she'll stand and throw now when she should be shooting for takedowns in certain occasions. Like she'll land a hard shot or she'll take a hard shot and she'll start throwing back. And I'm like, no, shoot, get to the clinch. But she has that in her. She has that grit in her. And she's phenomenal. Like she's a phenomenal fighter. Marina Rodriguez is just as good in terms of she is a dog as well on the feet. And she's nasty. And she's phenomenal. She's good on the ground. Nasty. She's very well-rounded. She's very well-rounded all the way around. This will be her toughest test to date, Mackenzie Dern's, for sure.
Yep. I agree with you, but it's one of those you take a look and, man, like I said, Marina she's nasty. She's actually got a mean streak in her. She wants to land. She big heavy elbows inside. She does a lot of good stuff. She better keep this thing on the feet. If she doesn't, it can end quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are when it hits the ground. You're definitely be fighting for your life to get back to your feet, or at least just trying to stuff the submissions, which is going to be really hard.
Yeah.
So we'll see though. Hopefully her takedown defense and her grit against the fence and ways she can try to use that MMA cage walking and those type of things to scrape her off, to get her away from her. We're going to see, but if she gets taken down in the open mat, it's going to be real hard for her to get up.
You better hope there's not much time on the clock.
Yeah. Look, I know there's some other fights in here, but I'm going to jump right to my boy Deron Winn, Phil Hawes. This fight has been rescheduled. I don't know how many times. I want to say 2 times, I think now. But they're going to be finally getting down. They're both, I think, in Vegas now, getting ready for this fight. Look, man, I think when it comes to the wrestling aspect of this, Phil Hawes better be able to stuff some takedowns. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. And also, the last time I saw Phil Hawes fight, he had a hard time against the fence. Was it last time? Maybe it was the time before that.
No, time before.
Time before that, right? And it just wasn't an impressive performance. He was pushed against the fence, they kind of just held each other against the fence. I can't remember who he was when he fought. Yeah. Who he fought. But, I mean, Deron's going to get this takedown. And he's going to get this takedown multiple times. Now, it's a matter of whether Phil Hawes can get back to his feet. So, Deron got to be working on scooping those legs, getting the heavy work on top, throwing big dogs, and letting it fly. And just throwing the legs to the side, man. That's one of the things that I think he needs to start working on in terms of just chucking. When you're up in the guard, doing the work, but once they open the guard, start throwing those legs to the side or stack passing, because he's so strong. He's built like a brick shithouse, and so he's just got to make sure that he's able to stack, pass the legs, get busy on top, control that top position. A lot of these top level wrestlers, man, they don't control that top position as well as you would imagine they would when it comes to the jiu-jitsu side of it. Mike Van Arsdale being one of those guys that I talked about years ago. He was like all over the place. He just never could settle and sit them down. He was in that wrestling position, just keep sitting to their hip, but never controlling and dominating them the way they would in wrestling, which is strange to me.
Well, I think that there's a couple of aspects to it. Part of it is, look at, if you're going to say Phil Hawes comes from a folk style background where Deron Winn came from that and then went international. Mm-hmm. And there is a difference as far as folk style, you cannot lock your hands. Where international, you do lock your hands. You can. In freestyle, you can lock your hands because you're going to try to turn your opponent. But that locking of the hands is, once they get them locked, they don't want to unlock them. And that kind of carries over into MMA because I've got you, but then I've got to unlock it to do strikes. And I don't want to do that because I could lose my position, and they're in a quandary, and it takes a while for them to figure out, how do I make this work for me? I think Deron's in that position now. Look, he's a better wrestler than Phil Hawes, obviously.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But Phil has really, and you take a look at Phil's record, he's got a lot of wins in a row now. A couple of them you were talking, I think it was Imavov. It was not an impressive performance. I think he got a majority decision on it. And then he fought Daukaus, who just had the fight with Holland. And in that one, he got a unanimous decision victory. But the first round, Daukaus was putting it on him. And then he fought through it and he came on and did a good job. So he's been showing that he's improving. And the real problem for Duran is Phil Hawes has got better hands than him, so he better get this thing to the ground so he takes Hawes out of that position of being able to land that.
Yeah, and I think also, too, because Duran, he does throw everything with a lot of power, and there's a lot of strength and conditioning that goes into the wrestling aspect of holding someone down or getting them down originally. And so he's got to make sure he's in phenomenal shape. I have no doubts that Duran's the better wrestler. It's just a matter of whether if he's gonna fight a smart fight, control the positioning, make Phil Hawes work hard to get back to his feet. Don't just let him get back up and just take him back down. Duran doesn't have that Khabib style cardio to keep taking him down 19 times in one fight, and so he's got to make sure that he takes him down, controls him, pushes on the head, keeps his head planted to the mat, just getting dirty on him, grinding the elbows in his face and making him want to get up and work to get up and explode out of those positions to where he's just wasting energy. So if Duran can do that, I think he's gonna have a good night and have a successful night. So it'll really just come down to that. What other fights on this card? I mean, look, this is a relatively unknown card. Like a lot of these fighters are fighters that, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not 100% familiar with a lot of them. I know who Brandy Brown is. I know who Jared Gooden is. I know who Tim Elliott is.
Tim Elliott against Nicolau that's a good fight.
Yes.
First off, yes, I'll watch Tim Elliott fight anytime. The guy is just, he's a doer. He's a guy that he's got an engine and he goes. Sometimes he takes too many shots. It kills me to watch. Sometimes his toughness overdoes his common sense at times, but goddamn, he's fun to watch. He's just a great fighter to watch. But I'll tell you what, the one that's on the main card that I think is going to actually be a pretty good fight is Agapova versus Mazo.
Yeah.
Sabina Mazo, she's super good in the stand-up, and she's been learning the ground more and more and more. But she works out with Cyborg and everything now, and she's getting much better. So that's a really good fight between those two. I think that's one that you could watch, and either one could win, which makes it you think should be good. Hopefully they don't cancel each other out, but I think that's going to be a really good fight. Yeah,
Agapova is long, lanky, as I like to say,
and so is Mazo.
Yes. But Agapova has this tendency to blow her wad.
Yes, she does.
She lets it all go early. She tries to get her out of there, and then she tends to slow down as the fight goes on. When she exploded onto the scene, I was like, "Damn, you're fun to watch. I can't wait to watch more of your fights." And then her next fight, she laid an egg, and I was like, "Oh, jeez, man," because she came
when
out
I was
too
climbing
hard.
on the bandwagon.
Yeah, I was on that band. I was like 1 foot up, getting ready to jump up in there, and then shit, I was like, damn, I'm off. I wasn't off. She still sparks my interest every time I see her on the card. So hopefully she has a good night and a good fight. What other fights on here, John?
There's the heavyweight fight I know between Romanov and I always say it wrong, but it's Vanderea.
Okay.
Romanov is strong, powerful. He hasn't been beaten yet, man. He's tough. So that's going to be a really good fight. I really like Vanderea, but Romanov is he's a juggernaut.
I remember watching Charles Rosa fight. He's fun as well.
He's a good all-around fighter. A lot of technique. He's, not the guy that you can go and, always been with ATT for, I think his entire career. Came out of Boston, but was trained at ATT for a long time. He's a gamer. He's a junkyard dog. Keeps on coming. Doesn't stop.
He's a good looking, as I recall. Yeah, he is a good looking kid.
Blue collar worker.
So, yeah, but good. What do you know about Damon Jackson though? I don't know anything about him.
He's super long, tall, lanky. If you want to talk about a guy that. He's probably 6 foot tall at about 145 pounds. So
5'11" it says. Yeah,
he's got some submission game. He uses the Darce choke and things like that. Well, it's a good matchup. I look at it and I think if it ends quick, I think Jackson is the one that gets it. If it goes the distance, I think Rose is the guy that gets it. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Damon was brought in.
Fight.
Yeah, Damon was brought in on a last minute moment fight, and he did a good job. And he's been back, and so he's a tough dude.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I mean, realistically, we're going to wrap this UFC card up. And like I said, it's one of those cards. We say this all the time. There's maybe not a lot of name value, but you guys should probably still tune in and watch, because that's when some of the best fights happen. You have two fighters that are really jockeying for position and trying to get Dana White's and Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard's attention. They're like, hey, I need this. I need this win. Don't get me wrong. Every fighter wants to win and needs to win.
Every fighter needs every win, right?
Every fighter needs every win. We understand that. But this is one of those fights where they're not being overshadowed by the next biggest name that's on the card. This is where everyone is there to earn their keep. And this is those opportunities where you sometimes get some of the best fights. So in terms of a night where the biggest name on this card right here is Mackenzie Dern, and Marina Rodriguez, those are the two biggest names. And they should be the main event. But I'm saying, like, when you go through the card, you really don't know any of them. Like, you know of them, you've heard of them, and you probably have seen them fight once, maybe twice, and some of you guys are probably struggling to remember who they are and who you watch them fight. But they're good, but all of them are obviously good fighters. So it's just one of those cards you guys got to make sure you tune in and watch, because it's going to be a good night of fights.
Dave, what is Marina Rodriguez ranked with the UFC? Because isn't Mackenzie somewhere around 5?
Let's check it out here. So she's at flyweight or strawweight, I think.
That's going to be flyweight.
15, right?
Marina Rodriguez is 6 and Mackenzie Dern's 4.
Wow.
What is it? Okay.
Should be good, though. I think it'll be a good fight. Didn't Mackenzie beat Nina Nunes her last fight? Who did Mackenzie beat her last fight?
Let's pull that up here. So she beat Nina Nunes. Yep.
Yeah, Nina Nunes. That's what I thought. Gosh, man, see, there's a little bit of brain still left.
Ooh, look at you, man.
Yeah, buddy. I did my microdose yesterday. That's why.
Oh, that's it. You got the mushrooms working.
Yeah. Them psilocybins are working just great. All right. Let's. What else you got for us? Are we gonna move on? What else is next, Dave?
Yep. So since we
for some news,
talked about some small card, let's talk about a big fight that Dustin Poirier says is signed, sealed, and delivered, and then his coaches came out and all that and pretty much confirmed that it's booked for UFC 269 in December. So this fight is confirmed in Las Vegas.
December 11th in Las Vegas. Interesting.
as it should be.
At T-Mobile, huh?
T-Mobile, this is a fight that it needs to be done. This is where, you were talking about, now go back after that money and stuff. He needs the title. He needs to go after the title. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy fight, but yeah, no, he does. Because he's setting himself up. He's already got the money fights.
Yeah.
There's nothing
guys,
there.
I like to poke a lot of fun, John. I like to jab at you, and I like to go out there and just stir the pot. The reality is, yeah, he needs to fight for the title. Yep. I thought he should have fought for the title the second instead of fighting Conor the second time. I thought he should have fought for the title, and I'm not against him fighting Conor the third time. I should have said. I wanted him to do that because he just beat him. He actually just TKO'd him, and I was thinking to myself, Conor's not going to get better between now and your guys' next fight. So I get you going out there and fighting him again, but because you already felt what he felt like that time versus the first time you fought him. I understood why he did it for the money, but I thought, man, do it for the title. Let Conor come get it for the title, because then there's a bigger stake. There's something bigger at stake, And here's the thing: I know everyone's looking at him as if he's the one, pretty much he's the one to beat. I think a lot of people are overlooking Charles Oliveira.
Yeah,
they're looking at Charles Oliveira. They're looking at him as if, like, okay, he has the title while Dustin was fighting Conor for money. I hope Dustin doesn't overlook him, because he's the guy. Charles right now is just he's on a different level. He's not too much he's not too, they're even right now, the two of them, but they're just different stylistically. If this fight hits the ground, I could see Charles getting the tap. I could see him getting the submission. I could see him dominating that top position, in jiu-jitsu if he gets him down. He's got to be careful on the feet, though, with Dustin. Dustin got power, southpaw stance, punches come from different angles, the way you're used to ducking and moving and all those things. They're not the same. And so to say that you can prepare for it and have it and spar with the southpaw all the time, it's not true. And so this is gonna be a great fight. I'm pumped for this fight. I've been looking forward to this fight. I wanted this fight to happen before the third Conor fight. I'm glad it's happening.
Like you said, that they both have their strong suits. Look at Dustin's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but Oliveira is at a different level when it comes to the submission game and being able to pull off submissions, and his transitions to those submissions. It's just better. You got to be honest, and you got to look and say, strength-wise, that's got to go into Charles Oliveira's corner. Not that Dustin can't defend himself, not that Dustin couldn't pull off a submission himself. He can, just depends on the situation in the fight. But the guy, if you're going to say who's got the better skill set on the ground, it's got to be Oliveira. On the feet, you look, and it's very close, but I think the power goes to Dustin. I think he's got more power than Oliveira. And the one thing that I definitely know that Dustin have is, especially in this, the last 5 years of his career right now, the durability of Dustin Poirier. Charles is he's that fine, he's that thoroughbred, racehorse. He's the Ferrari race car, but he doesn't take damage that well. It starts to affect him in the fight, where Dustin just bring it, and he just keeps coming. And so, if you're looking at a game plan, hey, if you're Dustin, you're talking about, I'm going to get in his face and I'm going to make him fight a dirty, nasty, gritty fight and just break him down. If you're Oliveira, you want to keep him to outside. You get on top in the takedown, look for the submission and stuff. But these guys match up so well, and you can take nothing away from the champ in Oliveira. He's deserved that title. He's been on an incredible win streak. Absolutely. He's done everything that you can ask. He holds the submission record in the UFC. The guy is remarkable. The other guy that's remarkable is Dustin Poirier. So it's awesome that they're going to fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight. I would have to agree with you. Charles got the advantage on the ground, but it's not to say that Dustin can't defend himself as well as mount an offense as well. And then on the feet, I give the power to Dustin. The slickness of the stand-up I would give to Charles in terms of using the push kick, keeping his boxing tighter. Against the fence, that dirty, grimy fighting, I'd give it to Dustin, because we saw that against Hooker.
No doubt.
If Charles Oliveira's back gets to the fence, he's in trouble, because Dustin's going to let the hands go. It's gonna be a good fight, though. I give the wrestling advantage. I'd give it to Oliveira as well, because the wrestling can turn into any type of submission attack, whether jumping to the back if he turns the corner on him, or drop into an ankle lock, or any of those things can benefit him. So it's going to be a great fight in terms of how they match up. Like, they have different ways to win the fight, which makes it a fun matchup.
And the best part is both of them right now. You've never seen a better Charles Oliveira. And right now, you've never seen a better Dustin Poirier. You're getting them at the top of their game. Perfect.
This is true. You are correct. That's what you want to see.
Say that again.
John.
Say that again.
That's what you want to see, John.
No,
I saw where you were trying to go with that.
That's where that CTE helps.
Denied.
You gotta remember those last couple words.
Denied. Thompson with the denial. Block.
Slammed back.
You want to see two top fighters fight in their peak, and just because they're fighting for the title, it doesn't mean that they're both fighting at their feet, fighting at their peak. Because you look at what we saw, Lauren Murphy versus Shevchenko, different levels, different peaks. Lauren Murphy still needs to gain more. She's gotten better, a lot better, but she's still not at that level of where she's at, of where Shevchenko is. I don't know a female that is. But when we're having this conversation right now, the two of these guys are right at the peak of their game. And I want to know how Charles Oliveira's damage, how much damage he can take, because now he is at 55. We really haven't seen him in a whole lot of trouble, at 55. He's had some good fights at 55, and he hasn't taken a whole lot of damage at 55. So he had dominant performances, to be honest, against a lot of these fighters. So this is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's a good match.
All right, what else you got for us there, Dave?
All right, speaking of good fights, MVP comes out after his big fight with Douglas Lima at Bellator 267 and says he wants the trilogy fight, but he wants it 5 rounds. So here's some...
Well, I called that the night of the fight. I said, okay, I want to see 4 and 5, because you have in that type of fight, you just need it, and Josh and I have talked about this a lot about, it's tough on fighters to go 5 rounds as far as, how many times you do it in your career, because it can take fights off of your career. You're doing more rounds and you can accept more damage in them. And, but that fight with Lima, first, it should not have ended at the 3-round mark. It did need 2 more rounds. And I hope to see in the future that Bellator will look and say, yep, we got to make that, a 5-round fight. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen, but I sure would like to see it happen. But I think he's right.
John, I think I could see them doing it, especially going to 5-round fights, but especially for like number 1 contender spots. Like that's where I feel like they should do it. When you have 2 guys that are the best guys in that division, you have the former champion, you have the number 1 contender, basically up the 2 of them together, and they fought before in the semifinals of the welterweight world Grand Prix. Like there makes no sense not to have that be a 5-round fight,
especially when their fight before was a 5-rounder.
Yeah, and then now I understand. Yeah, I understand. No, I'm not done. No, that's gonna be in there. We're leaving that shit in there. Yes, it is. Dave, you better leave that in there.
Dave,
you better leave that in there. I love it.
That's a sneeze attack. Ooh.
People come for the al natural, Big John, baby.
Natural.
I feel better. And so look, I could see them eventually going that route. I don't know when or if it does ever happen, but I could see them doing it based off of a lot of the backlash we got from the fact that this wasn't 3 rounds.
Yeah,
I mean, there was a lot of fans that spoke out. There was a lot of criticism that because it was a number 1 contender spot, people do listen to our podcast and they were retweeting what we were saying about it being, a 5-round fight because it was for the number 1 contender spot to fight for the title next. And so that being said, I could see potentially that happening. I don't know if it is and when it will, but I could see it happening. Yeah,
I hope it does. But I think if you asked MVP, and since he got the nod in the 3-rounder, I think he would rather fight Amosov before he fights Lima again.
Yeah, I mean it would make sense. I would fight for the title, and I guess the other thing as well, if he loses to Amosov and Lima gets a win in between now and then you have the 2 of them fight again to see if it depends on how well Lima does against Amosov. If he does well, he's able to, drop him or do anything to him. But no one's been able to do shit to him. He's been untouched.
Logan Storley was getting his in the 3rd round.
He was. You're right. I take that back. Back. Yeah. John, you're right a little bit today. I think you're 1% right so far. You're 1%.
It's 1%.
It's very rare you'll get to 2%, but I'll hold you there. 1% right so far.
Let's go, Dave. Next.
Yeah, we'll see next.
All right, next piece of news. So, a bit more tragic. We had news come out this week that Justin Thornton from BKFC died after rematching Dylan Kleckler in a BKFC fight from August.
Yeah, that's a bad situation. That happened in August, near the end of August. Was it August 20th? And it was not a long fight. It was not. A lot of times when you watch fights and you'll see guys that end up passing based upon the fight. I'm not saying that it wasn't the fight. It was the way he fell because he got paralyzed. He got hit with a shot. It knocked him out and he was falling face forward and his head actually hit the canvas. And you can think of when people dive into the ocean and they hit a sandbar there and their neck gets kind of cracked. He was paralyzed after this, and that's where a lot of his problems came from, and they put him on a ventilator, and eventually it was pneumonia that took his life, but it was from that fall that really caused the all of the trauma of what happened. Not so much, the punch definitely hurt, it knocked him out. That's why it turned him, and he's going face forward, but he wasn't able to stop the fall and all that weight and being a bigger guy. And forehead hits it. Doesn't take much to pinch that spinal cord. So it's tragic, and I'm sorry. Sorry that it happened, man. Sorry that we have this in combat sports, but it is one of the realities of any combat sport.
The reality is this, though. Like, I want fans at home, and I want people, if you guys are listening to this, is that this is not a sport that you play. And so when we talk, like when we have these conversations, John, about, you know, someone who is not feeling like they want to fight anymore, get out.
Oh, yep.
You know, and I speak very frankly to everyone that's listening to us. I say, hey, I talk about the Tony Ferguson fight all the time because leading up to that fight, I felt like, okay, I still like to train. I still like to be part of the sport. I still like to be in the locker room with the guys. I don't mind the training, you know, but then after the fight, the damage in the fight, like I said, I left part of me in that cage. And then moving on, training wasn't as fun. I just felt like it wasn't the same. And then, you know, and so like if you're not feeling it, then don't do it. Now, maybe he was feeling it. He loved training, maybe all these things. But you hit a certain age though, too, and you got to start thinking to yourself, it's time to call it quits. You know, that, and I'm just being honest, that 37, 38, 39 years old is kind of that stage of like, look, you know, you're not the guy. You know, you're not the guy that you used to be. You know, you're not the competitor you used to be. Your speed's not there. Sure, maybe the power might still be there, but if you can't land the punch, then the powers are not effective. You know, and if the wrestling takedown and the strength and all those things, because your strength starts to fade as well at 37, 38, because you're getting older. The muscle strength isn't there. The tendon strength isn't there. And so those are things you notice when you train with younger guys that are 25, 26, and they've got that full body full of testosterone, you know, and you don't have that anymore. Yours is just
They've
fucking
got that
depleting.
TRT free body that just keeps on pumping.
The all natural TRT,
natural,
like that
baby.
shit, you know, just tearing you up, man. And so I don't know. And if you look at his fight stats and where he was, I mean, scroll down a little bit more there. I mean, he had 4 losses in a row, 5 losses in a row, keep going. So he had 5 losses, then he had 2 wins, and he had another 2 losses, then 1 win, and then 5 losses in a row again. Yeah. Like, you start getting into that bracket as a matchmaker, you got to start looking out for people's health as well.
Well,
so
and
that's a little bit.
That's part of the whole thing is you got to look at this and you got to say, all right, you know, bare knuckle boxing is a fairly new sport, even though it's an old sport, but it, you know, here in, you know, the States, it's new as far as this promotion and everything that's going on. But they're getting a lot of guys that are old, a lot of older fighters, and a lot of fighters that just don't have good fight records. And they're putting them in here, and it's like, why are you putting that guy in there? Because he'll sign the contract? You know, like you're saying, you've got to, at a certain point, the promoter has got to assume the responsibility of who he's putting on that card. You know, you've got to. And it's, when you're putting people on that have showed that in their last, 5 fights, they don't have any wins, and now you're taking and putting them into another sport and expecting them to do well. No, you're not expecting them to do well. You're expecting them to hopefully be a highlight. And that's never a good situation to be in. And it's wrong if you're the promoter wanting it, because it just goes against what, the sporting aspect. And like you said, man, you play baseball and, you play football, and football's got a lot of contact to it, but it ain't fighting.
No,
there's no playing in any fighting aspect. Boxing you are not playing. Kickboxing, you are not playing. MMA, bare knuckle boxing, it is a fight. And there's too many times that people have lost their lives in that ring or cage, and it's happened, fortunately a lot less in the cage, but man, it is a serious business.
Yeah, he fought Friddle, and it was a 9-second fight. And then the fight before that, he fought Austin Lane, and it was a 1:39 fight. TKO and then KO, which means to me, it just tells me that maybe he didn't let his brain heal enough between the 2 fights. If you look at, one was in March of 2018, and the next one was in November of the first one was in November of 2017. And then March, which is what, 6 months later, 5 months later, he's back in there again.
4 months.
4 months. There you go, math again. All right. So you're in there, you've got 4 months later, you're back in there fighting again. It's not. You need to give your brain time to heal. That's one thing that I'm looking at right now. Look, who was it? Look, Calvin Kattar hasn't come back and fought yet since the Max Holloway fight.
Not since his loss to Max.
Smart.
Which is good. Yep.
Taking time, hopefully, not training too hard, letting his brain heal, just refocusing, And then look at Brian Ortega. He took all that time off after the Max fight, to reinvent himself, get
That's
back
what Max
on track.
Holloway can do to you.
And so that's two guys went out there and done that. And there was another person as well, I believe. I can't remember who it was, but somebody else did it as well. They took a lot of time off after their loss. It's smart. You got to take that time to let your brain heal. Take that time to not reinvent yourself, but get your confidence back in the gym, training with the guys that you were training with, getting back on track and just kind of changing your game a little bit, because obviously what was working for you before, people now have figured out the riddle, and just because one opponent did doesn't mean the next one will, but they're going to catch on to that. They're going to stick, and that's how it all happens, John. You and I have had this conversation. Yep. Once one person figures out how to beat you, your confidence is no longer that level of saying, well, I can do all the things that I was doing before. No, it's not. Your confidence is not there anymore as much as it was before you lost. And then all those other fighters, their confidence now skyrockets up, thinking they can beat you the same way. And then they believe in it and you don't. And that's how it becomes a snowball effect.
Yeah. Well, there's a blueprint that is now out there for everyone to watch and how to beat you. So I follow that blueprint, leads me to my victory. Just bad, it's tough. That's why you're always, and I tell fighters all the time, when you stop learning, stop fighting. You've got to always be continually getting better with more techniques, doing things in a different fashion. That will keep you ahead of the curve. When you stop learning and you go in the gym and you're hitting mitts and I roll a little bit, but I don't really listen to anyone. I know what I'm doing. You're making a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Got to be learning.
All right, guys, I want to thank one of our biggest sponsors, MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code WEIGHIN with all the sports that are coming available right now. You got football starting, got basketball coming to about. Also, make sure you guys use that promo code WEIGHIN. They'll give you a little extra spending cash with your first initial deposit. Don't miss out on this. Use MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code WEIGHIN to get that little extra. You also use that code right there if you guys can, and that will actually take you right to getting that extra cash. MyBookie.ag, use the promo code WEIGHIN.
Next story is on the whole Aspen Ladd situation. So Miesha Tate came out on Twitter and basically accused Aspen of cheating on the scale. And then, Aspen obviously pulled out of the fight. She was she missed weight. She said that I take full responsibility for not making weight. It's well documented I've had issues with weight cuts in the past. And then what did she blame it on? I basically blamed it on her period. And then Miesha was saying that she tried to cheat on the scale because she was wearing clothes. And then Aspen's coach came out and said...
it's also her boyfriend, correct? It's her coach and her boyfriend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Came out and called Miesha a dumb fuck and said she weighed in with damp sweats, shorts, socks, sweats, which weighed 4 pounds itself, and then taking that off, she would have been 137, which obviously is only a pound over versus the higher weight. And then she said, "Please explain that magic." And then Jim continued on and said, basically, try doing this yourself. You better hope you never fight Aspen. And then called Miesha.
Try doing this yourself. She's done it how many times?
Jesus.
Well, try dealing with it. I think.
No. What do you mean? Try dealing with a period and fighting? You don't think she's done that? Are you kidding me? Okay. And this has nothing to do with Aspen or but you got to figure out if she stepped on a scale wearing sweats and Coach Jim West is saying that they were wet sweats and stuff. You don't weigh in with sweats.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got a weight to make and stuff. And just because someone, says a story doesn't mean the story actually adds up. I look at it this way. And Miesha can sit there and say whatever she wants as far as she thinks she was cheating. Okay. But if she was trying to, I understand it. That's her job, was to try to make weight. And if that was the way she was going to make it, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. They didn't allow it to happen, which is the right thing to, have occur during that weigh-in. So very nice job by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the people that are there to watch and make sure that she's not allowed to cheat, because it doesn't take much to cheat. It doesn't take much pressure on you putting a hand on a towel or any of those things or dragging your hands on them. That's why they're telling you to put your hands up so they can see them. So it makes sense, that she's trying to do that and they're not allowing it. Hey, I don't put that much on the fact that she missed weight at 137, a pound off. Yeah, it's a miss, but if you're a woman at certain times, what are you going to do? You're going to retain water, and it makes it more difficult than the men have it. It really does.
This is what I don't get is Aspen came out and had written a response to Miesha, and it was a classy response. And then her coach / boyfriend comes out and writes something totally just fucking stupid. Like, let the fighter,
defense.
Yeah, like let the fighter be the fighter, man. Like, I get it, you're trying to be defensive. Well, guess what? Miesha Tate's boyfriend is also a fighter. Why don't the two of you guys just fucking lock up and do it then? Because I gotta tell you, I'll tell you right now, if Miesha was my girl and you said you called her a dumb fuck, next time I see you, I'm gonna slapping the shit out your fucking mouth. Like that's really what it comes down to. The two females can eventually fight. If Aspen ever makes weight, the two of them can fight. Because what weight class are they gonna fight in? Mr. West, Jim West? Your girl doesn't make weight. So we're not fighting at 135, that's for sure. So, you know what I mean? Like that's how this whole conversation could go. I found it classless. Like, it's one of those, people can agree with me, people are not, but like, just stay out of it. If you're a coach, I get it, you're her girl, boyfriend or whatever, but just stay out of it, man. Like, it's not really your business. I've had this conversation several times. Bob Cook never got involved in anything that I said on social media, thank God. But Javier didn't either. And the one time that he did get on social media or do an interview about anything, it was with the Josh Koscheck thing, and it blew up in his face, and they had that big argument and it was a big deal. And then Josh ended up leaving the gym.
Oh, remember
This is why, because things like this, it never works out for the person intervening. Like, I've always said this, if you have a girlfriend or if you have a boyfriend and you talk shit to them, like you talk shit about them to your family, don't expect that boyfriend to be around very long, because anytime something goes wrong, all that family's going to do is just fucking look at them negatively. Even when things are right, they're still going to think they're pieces of shit. And that's exactly like, this is kind of that feel of like, look, Aspen Ladd might be your girl right now, but eventually you're going to piss her off and she's going to look at you negatively. People talking shit about her about him on social media. It's just going to turn into that. Like, oh, remember that one time he butt his nose into your business? And just stay out of it. Be her coach, be her boyfriend on the side. It's not worth it, man. She said her piece in a very respectful way, by the way, to Miesha. Yeah. And look, and I'm not sticking up for Miesha either. She had her 2 cents and put it in there, and I thought it should have been like, just, you have other things to worry about.
Let it go.
Like, you've got your fights coming up too, so just worry about that. But I mean, maybe there's previous beef that we don't know about. I don't like that. Just be her girlfriend or be her boyfriend and be her coach. It was done classless. That's all.
Yep.
That was a nice little rant by Thompson. All
All
right,
right,
next
on to the next
day.
story. Kevin Holland and Kyle Daukaus will fight in the rematch on November 13th. So it's been announced already that they're going to rematch after the head clash that ended the last fight.
Perfect.
That's
Perfect.
awesome. Good.
That's exactly
Good.
what should have happened. It's the way it's supposed to be. That way we'll see a real fight with real results, hopefully. And the one thing I want to say is you got to really love Kevin Holland. I don't know if you heard his statements after the fight, but he said, he goes, no. Yeah, I didn't expect a no contest, and I'm just going to say it straight out. Daukaus choked my ass out. He goes, he deserves the win. And, no, that's okay. He's being honest, because he's looking at like, hey, yeah, the head clash, that caused me a problem, but I should have got my way out, and he won. Okay. No, it's all good, because at least he's not crying.
Yeah.
Right? And this is that whole thing again. We had, we've had people in recent fights who have, the fight gets called, it's a no contest, and then you have one fighter trying to say, no, I should get the win. I need people to understand this. Name me the sport other than boxing and MMA, really, where you can have a violation of a rule and they hand the game over to the opposition. So you get a pass interference in football. No, we're not going to just move the ball. We're just going to say, okay, it's over. They win. All right. Or, it's crazy. You get someone that balks in baseball and there's nobody on base. Yeah, you get to round the bases. Okay. It's crazy. A disqualification win should take place when a fighter makes egregious actions in the fight that show they have no regard for the rules of the sport, things that are not commonplace fouls. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have it where you have multiple acts of the same foul that could lead you to a disqualification, but it's never going to be the first time it happens. That's fucking ludicrous. I'm done.
Okay. I had mine. You just had yours.
Yeah.
That was
there
great.
you go.
No, I mean, the reason why I say that is because I had a couple people say like, oh, well, he still kept fighting and he still got choked out. He's not the same fighter.
No, he's diminished.
Let me knock you down. Let me knock you out and then shake you a little bit, see where you wake up, and let me see how well you defend anything I do to you. And that, especially against someone who wasn't knocked out. Like that person's, I'm just going to knock you out. I'm going to shake you a little bit. Okay, are you ready? And I'm just going to start messing you up, start hitting you a little bit. I'm going to start choking you and working on your neck and hitting arm bars, all those things, jumping on your back. You're not going to have much of a defense.
No,
and so
you're going to be slow.
Yeah, everything's going to be at least a step behind. And so because I read a couple comments like, oh, well, he's still defending. He still got choked out. And I'm like, yeah, because he's not the same fighter after you get knocked out.
Nope.
And so
if he had been hit with a legal punch, that same action takes place. That's what Kyle Daukaus is supposed to do, is hurt him that way. So you get that submission. Great job.
Yeah.
But you can't give that win to someone when what actually put the fighter into a compromised position was an illegal act, obviously unintentional by both guys. But it was an illegal blow. You can't put him in that position.
Yeah. I mean, on a positive note, though, outside of the fight, did you hear about Kevin Holland today? I guess apparently apprehended somebody who was who stole the car, was running from the cops. He chased him down in his car, then chased him down on foot, caught him. I guess apparently he swept the leg, is what he said in the.
And then gift wrapped him.
And then gift wrapped him with. If you guys know what a gift wrapped is, basically like hold one arm, both arms, or arms like this around his neck. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, it looks like this.
Yep.
And just kind of like held him tight until the cops got there. And hey, he's a good guy, man. He's a good guy. He's fun to watch fight. He's a good guy. He's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of personality. And how can you not like the guy?
I'll be a fan. I'll be a fan for his entire career.
Yeah, Dana.
Let me ask you this.
Mouth.
Nothing wrong with being a big mouth at times.
Do you call it Holland Daukaus 2, or is it just number 1 because the first one was a no contest?
Still 2.
No, it's 2.
Still 2?
Yeah. First one was a no contest.
That's usually what happens after you have 1, Dave. So I thought I was bad at math.
Yeah, but no contest means it didn't happen, right?
No, it did happen.
No contest means that there's no decision in the fight.
All right.
Yeah, if someone didn't make weight and the fight didn't happen, you'd probably still just call it 1.
Yes.
But once they step in the cage and they throw punches at each other, that's part 2.
Yep.
Okay.
Next.
All right. Next story. BJ Penn announces that he is running for governor of Hawaii.
Governor! We've got
BJ
Governor Penn. I love it.
I'm down, man. I'm down.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Wow.
John's love
not
BJ.
a believer.
No, look, okay, hold on. I would vote for BJ because I love him. All right, but, and this is just the truth, and I don't care what level it is. And when you're talking about governor, you're talking about high level politics, and politics is a nasty occupation with nasty people who do it, and they're going to try to eat BJ up. And I just don't want to see that.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing though, is that I don't believe anyone loves Hawaii as much as he loves Hawaii.
I agree.
And I also believe that outside of, and look, people can say what they want about his past and his history in troubles and especially in recent times. But when you look at his mom plays a very strong part in the political parties there, but on the Big Island. And there is a lot of connections she will help guide him kind of, I believe, in the directions that he'll need to make sure that he's successful. His family has always surrounded him and been part of him and his growth and whatever it is. He owns, I want to say, 5 UFC gyms. He owns his own BJ Penn gym in the Big Island, which will eventually, I believe, turn into a UFC gym here shortly. He owns several other businesses throughout all the islands. And then his mom and dad are huge into the real estate market in terms of across all islands.
Yep.
There's no doubt they have influence. I don't know what kind of influence that they would have in terms of getting him elected. If people can look past what his recent issues have been in terms of now that he's on track, and he has been on track as of the last year and a half or so, I don't know. I really believe he'll be a threat, because I really believe this. Hawaiians are just sick of what's going on over there right now. I mean, I have friends over there right now. Yes, they should.
Shouldn't they be?
I have friends, and I'm not trying to get too political right now. I have friends they're from the mainland that are traveling there right now. When the governor has made it very clear, don't come here. But guess what? People are going there because the airline tickets are so cheap. You can buy a round trip ticket for like $180 or $210 round trip. You fly your whole family there for less than $600, $500. So when it comes down to it, it's like, why would people not go? And when all the hotels on the beach there are open, but if you go to any of the other beaches that are not where the hotel strips are, you get kicked off if you're a local. And so there's issues. None of the restaurants and any of that stuff are all, from what I understand, are not open that are inland from like the hotel restaurants or the hotel, like in the tourist spots. And so all the small business, I actually had some friends where their kids that owned a business had to shut their business down, and they couldn't afford to pay their rent, or their mortgage, I should say, on their place. They had to sell their place and then move to the mainland because they couldn't afford to buy another place in Hawaii itself. So now their whole family had to move into California, which is another expensive place.
I was gonna say, well, that's not good.
Well, they got a killing for their house, even though even it's like Hawaii now is so overpriced, no one can afford. Even the locals can't. None of the locals can afford to buy houses there. So it's just it's a crap situation to be in, and I understand why a lot of people are frustrated with that, with the island itself and the party that's running that scenario there. So I don't know. It's rough, man. I live in California, so the shit ain't any better here. It's a disaster here. But yeah.
See that? See that color? See that color? You know what that means?
Tennessee orange.
That a baby.
Oh, John. Anyways, look, obviously I've been friends with BJ for a long time. We just had BJ on our show here recently. And so we had a lot of great discussions and great conversations about the past and the history and some of the future. This came up yesterday. I was reading about it and I was like, look, I mean, I may just buy a place out there just so I can vote for him.
Dude, all I will tell him is just let me know what you need, man.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing, yep. Next.
All right. Just wanted to share this little one with you guys. So this was on a little bit of a lighter note. After the Robbie Lawler Nick Diaz fight, this little clip came out, and I'm gonna try and play it for you guys. Basically, just Robbie checking in with Nick after the fight, and he says, "Are you good, man? Are you good in life? Let's get there. You know what I'm saying. Let me know if I can help you." It was just a nice moment to share after the fight. Hold on, let me see if I can get this going.
And this is from where? ESPN MMA?
Yeah. So you can't really hear it there. Hold on.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, you can't really hear it there, but you subtitles in the video anyway, so
got it.
You guys get the gist.
Yeah, it's on the ESPN MMA BJ Penn website. You guys go to bjpenn.com and they'll have it up there. And just a nice little conversation between the two, because Robbie says, "Are you good?" And then Nick says, "All good, man." Then Lawler says, "Are you good in life?" That's fucking different. Let's fucking get there. You know what I'm saying. Let me fucking know if I can help you. So, but here, we've known this, John, for the longest time. I think everyone should know. Robbie Lawler is a fucking great guy. Absolutely phenomenal person. The reason why he got a little bit of a bad rap when he was younger is he never wanted the media. He never wanted any of those people in his life.
Didn't like it.
Like didn't want to talk. I remember some of the media trying to talk about his parents, and he's like, yeah, he shut that shit down real quick. He's like, yeah, that's not what we're doing here. He straight up just said, that's not what we're doing here. I ain't doing that shit. He's like, you want to talk about the fight? Let's talk about the fight. I ain't talking about family. I ain't talking about anything else. That's not what we're doing here. And that was one of the clips that I saw from him that I still remember to this day on when I started trying to keep my life personal, keep my personal life away from the sport itself. And one of the greatest things I ever did. People still ask me like, oh, how's your parents? The media will ask, are you married? Do you have kids? I was like, it's none of your fucking business. Like anything that I have going on is none of your damn business. I don't talk about any of my life. None of it. People I've known for years don't know shit about me. And that's the greatest thing I ever did.
I know. I keep asking you these questions, and you never.
I never tell you. John has no answer. John doesn't even fucking know. He's been friends with me forever, so it's been great.
No, let's just look at it this way. And you've got this thing, and just like you said, Robbie's special. He's just a good person. He has very little ego. He'll want to prove to you that he can knock you out, but he's one of the nicest guys, doesn't have a whole lot to say to anybody about anything. But if you're going to go back in time and understand what Robbie Lawler is as a person, go back to his fight with Ben Askren. And Herb Dean ends up stopping that fight, and Robbie was not unconscious. And you could see when Herb stopped it and right away was like, oh, God, and knew that that wasn't good. And Robbie could have been, harping on him, because right away he says, Herb, I'm fine. And Herb had made the call. And then he says, hey, man, it's okay. It's okay. And he's trying to take care of Herb and tell him, hey, it's okay. He says, man, hey, you're still a fantastic referee. You're a great man. And he's trying to make Herb feel better. And that's who Robbie Lawler is. And so I expect nothing less from Robbie, and this whole little thing between him and Nick absolutely is exactly what I would expect from a Robbie Lawler.
When you get to a point in your career, it's hard for me to say, like, there's just a sense of peace.
Yeah.
That it just happens. I think you'll see it in a lot of these guys that have been in the game, whether it's fighting, even in the NFL or in Major League Baseball, they just come to peace with what's going on. Like it's winding down, and they're just happy with the fact that they've been able to do it this long. Robbie's been doing it fucking as long as I had, and Robbie just had a fight. I'm like, God damn. Like, what the fuck?
Well, you call it a peace, and it is because it's a sense of, look, I've been there and I've done it. I don't need to prove myself anymore. Now, I still like to compete, and I'm going to compete, and I still like making money at it or whatever it is, but I don't need to prove myself, and that's where the peace comes in.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. I love it. I love seeing guys like Robbie and other guys that just come to peace with it, and it's just like you can see that they're a different person.
Well, and I also love the fact that when he finally gets someone, because you could see Robbie for quite a few fights was just doing it. When he finally got someone that motivated him, take a look at what he was able to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he looked good. Next.
All right. Bellator announces that Nemkov is going to take on Anglikas, and this will be in the light heavyweight tournament.
Julius Anglikas.
This is after the Rumble Johnson story.
Yeah, they announced it a couple weeks ago when the last time we were. Where were we?
I don't know if we covered the actual fight itself though.
Yeah, we did.
I think we only covered Rumble being out.
No, we talked about his replacement. Yeah.
Well, real quick, let's talk about Anglikas because he gets the spot. A lot of people were like, well, why does he get it? He got it because he did have a fight with Gregory Milliard that it was whoever won that was the alternate for the light heavyweight Grand Prix tournament, and he actually ended up not taking the fight that he was supposed to fight Rumble when Yoel Romero was removed. He was supposed to fight Rumble, but it was only 2 weeks' time between his fight and that fight. And he said, look, I just can't do it. I can't make the weight. And he was being honest about stuff. And, we talked about it. We thought, this is your chance. You go and you take that. But he didn't. And now when Rumble had to pull out, he gets put back in and he gets a shot this is a Cinderella story. You think about this. Look at what's happening here. This is a chance of a guy who he's undefeated in Bellator. He was an LFA light heavyweight champion. You and I both know, look, the guy's got skills. Yeah. He's a freaking beast at 205 as far as you talk about a huge 205 pounder with zero body fat. He's very basic in what he does. His boxing is really good. He's got good wrestling defense. But this is the ones that you're looking for when this is his moment. And like you had brought up, and I thought it was a perfect analogy. You talked about Daniel Cormier coming into the Strikeforce Grand Prix and getting put into the tournament, and he fought Bigfoot Silva, and he beats Bigfoot Silva, and then he comes out and he just smoked Josh Barnett, and that put DC on the map. And is it a possibility? He's got a tough fight, but there's a possibility.
Yeah, what people need to understand is that he's big for the weight. He's strong. He's big. Man. He doesn't do anything too flashy, and he will be there in the fourth and fifth round if this fight goes that far.
Yep.
He'll be there. And the one thing that Nemkov has been known to do is slow down as the fight goes on, because he does everything with power and strength, and he's an active fighter as well. He pushes himself to try and get the finish. Nemkov does. He's active from the bottom if he gets taken down. He's active from the top in the ground and pound, and he's very active on his feet. He tries to be light on his feet for a big guy at 205. He doesn't just stalk after you. He moves around and bounces, and so that takes a lot of energy out of 205 pounders. And Anglikas is another guy who he's the stalker. He will walk you down, throw big punches, clinch you, try to use his strength. Yeah, straight punches. There's nothing sloppy really about him. He just keeps everything tight. And look at the size of his shoulders, man. I mean, if we have Dave post this picture, he's got some big-ass shoulders. He knows how to block and cover with his shoulders. He's good with his boxing. Like I said, he doesn't do a whole lot spectacular, but it's gonna be a good fight for him. And when I brought up the Daniel Cormier situation, I said, this is how legends are made. Daniel Cormier now is a legend in the sport because of that one opportunity he had in that heavyweight world Grand Prix. Now this is his moment. And Julius Anglikas, this is his moment to go ahead and make himself a legend. If he can beat Nemkov and then go on to fight Corey Anderson or Ryan, the winner of that, and get the win, people aren't going to be talking about Nemkov. People aren't going to be talking about Corey Anderson. They'll be talking about him.
Yep.
And so this is his chance, man. This is really his chance. And then you've got this whole pool of other guys now. You've got Anglikas now that got thrown into the mix, but you still have Corey and Bader, and I think Bader will probably go back up to heavyweight after this. He fights. I feel like he fights better at heavyweight, with the weight there. So, but then you've got Rumble Johnson if he ever does make it back. It'd be a great matchup. And you've got other guys that are in that mix too. So it just adds another flavor to this and someone that's there. So it'd be good. Yep. I'm pumped. Next.
Hey, is the greatest heavyweight of all time, Jake Hager, going to come back to Bellator?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Jake Hager.
I love me some Jake Hager.
Dude.
He's a good guy.
Like I said, he's a great guy. He's funny as hell. He's a cheap bastard. We can all agree on that. He'll order drinks and then walk away.
Oh, jeez.
But great guy. Great guy.
He ordered more than a drink.
Oh, yeah. Food and everything.
Oh, jeez.
He's a former world champion. You're supposed to treat him like royalty, okay?
Royalty. I got it. Next time I see him, we'll treat him like royalty.
When he can show me a belt that's worth royalty, you can let me know.
It says WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Jesus, there you go. He's going back into.
I don't even know what that.
You're gonna get me in trouble with some of my old friends.
Yeah. All right, you got anything else for us, Dave?
Last one. Last one is just this clip. I'm going to play this one for you too. Just a quick little clip. It's based on this whole thing that's been going on recently in the media. You guys have touched on it a little bit already. Normally we don't get too into it, but it just kind of. Did you guys see the one with Andrew Schultz scenario as well, where Andrew Schultz is basically that comedian guy is saying that he's the greatest MMA journalist of all time, and then Ariel replied and said,
"Hold it.
I don't know who you are, but."
This Andrew is saying he's the greatest MMA journalist.
Yeah, and he's friends with Joe Rogan. He's friends with Israel Adesanya. He's kind of joking around. He had Dan Hooker he was hanging out with Dan Hooker or whatever, and then at the Apex, and then said he's the greatest MMA journalist. Ariel is now kind of firing back at him on his show, and then Brendan comes out with this clip today. So I'll play this real quick. Hold on, let me just get volume on here.
So Borrachino Depot is the guy who put this on his Twitter. It says Brendan's message to MMA media. I heard it's kind of hard to read between the lines. I didn't get a chance to really listen to it fully, but I heard it doesn't. Yeah, it depends on what he says, but I heard it's kind of hard to read between the lines. He's kind of obscurely saying something, but I think people can make of it what they want. So let's hear it.
Unless you book some big name fighter or you have 17 fighters on your show, nobody gives a fuck about your personal opinion. So you have to somehow muster something, trying to figure it out. Because everything you've ever done has never worked out for you. That's how these guys operate. And it doesn't end well for any of them because they don't have any talent. Nobody's paying attention. So they have to book big guests or they have to talk shit about Joe Rogan just to get views. Because if they get on here and rant to a camera like I do for an hour, nobody listens because they've never walked the walk. They've never been in the fire. They're reporting on the storm. I've been in the storm. Joe Rogan hasn't been in the storm, but he's witnessed more storms than anybody in the world. He's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's also an inspiration to millions and millions of people. He's also made millions, hundreds of $millions off of podcasts. He's an entrepreneur. These other guys work for the man because they have to. Because they don't have talent. They don't have creativity. They don't have the work ethic to hang with guys like me and Joe Rogan.
All right.
So clearly some bloody elbow jabs in there. Ariel actually replied to this tweet. I can't find it on my screen, but I've got it on my phone here. It says, okay, this is a good bit. If he's being serious, curious if MMA media is so irrelevant, why does he rip off all our content ideas, takes, and pass it off as his own?
Jeez, man.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Look it. Sometimes fucking truth hurts. And he said a whole lot of truth right there. Let's just be honest, okay? One thing that people need to understand. He said one thing that's totally wrong. I'm just going to say it straight out. Joe Rogan has not seen more fights than anyone. I've seen a lot more fights than Joe Rogan. Okay. But, I mean, he's being honest when he's saying, look, you got these people that are doing all these interviews and stuff, because if they don't, what are they going to do? You know, are people going to listen to them as far as because they know so much about the sport, or they break things down so well, or what it is? You know, everyone's got their lane and their gig, and Brendan is not. He's not an MMA reporter. You know, let's just be honest. He doesn't report on MMA. He talks about MMA. All right. And he'll talk about fights and what he thinks is going to, you know, be interesting coming up and how he thinks something will play out, but he doesn't report on fights. As, you know, we say, Brendan throws in, you know, real fighting stuff with a comedic back, you know, drop at times. He's like Johnny Carson, man. And he does a great job with it. And he's not trying to be mainstream media. Josh, are you trying to be mainstream media? I don't think we are.
No, I think that's where the mix up is. Like I said, like Brendan's like late night talk show. He's like Jimmy Kimmel. He's you know, those guys.
I went Johnny Carson. I'm making him really old.
Johnny Carson. That's old. That's old. For most of the people don't even know what the hell Johnny Carson is that listen to our show, by the way. Okay. So he's that guy. Whereas if you're going to talk about Ariel or any other media, they're CNN and Fox and MSNBC. They're supposed to be delivering the truths and the facts. Okay. We're here to deliver the comedy portion of it all and the fun, sure, the entertainment of it all, but we're not media guys. Here's the other thing. And he was correct. No one would sit around and listen to any of them, any of the media, if they didn't have guests on. And the reason why they have guests on is because they're backed by an actual MMA website. So when the MMA website comes to the fighter and says, hey, can we get you on our show? That MMA website has a little bit of pull. It's not because of the person that is there doing the interviews. Maybe it is a little bit now because of Ariel being a freelance guy, but he still works for, like he said, like he works for the man. And I'm not just talking about Ariel. I'm talking about all the other media websites or all the other media journalists. They all work for somebody. They work for USA Today. Yeah, some of them are independent, but they still use that to sell their product to that USA Today or to Sherdog or to MMA Fighting or whatever organization, Bloody Elbow. They sell their product to them. So sure, maybe they might be undefeated, but what they do is they say, yeah, I'm so-and-so with this website. That's what gets them. That's what gets their guest on. That's really what it is. Like John and I don't have a lot of guests on because I also don't want to reach out to a bunch of fighters and go, hey, would you guys want to, like, you guys interested in coming on? We've had a ton of fighters reach out to us and be like, hey, you guys, would you guys fit us in? Or would you like to have us on? And I'd be like, yeah, we would love to. But when it comes down to it, I also don't want to bother fighters during their camp, or we film at certain times where it's kind of during their training at night session, or we film right after the fights on Saturday. So it's already like they're probably already out or they're sleeping or they're in whatever it is they're doing on a Saturday night. I'm not trying to bother them. I'm trying to just do what we do. And Brennan brought that up is I don't work for the man. I work for myself. No one tells me what my schedule is. I make my own schedule. I grind myself. And Joe does that. He talks about it all the time. He's like, fuck, man. I get up every morning at 5 or 6 or whatever, do my sauna, do my routine, do my shows, do whatever it is I want to do. He works for himself. None of those other reporters can say that. They can talk like they do, but they don't. They work for that website that is employing them. Yeah, sure, maybe they're paying them well, but all those guests that come on your show, they come on because you're attached to a website. Do you own that website? Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe you own a percentage now. I don't know. Maybe that was something that they gave you in terms of signing you back on, or any other promoter or any other journalist. But do you guys own it? Do you own it outright? That's the thing. That's what the difference is. John and I own this website. John and I own this podcast ourselves. Yeah. No one owns it. Just the two of us own it. Nobody else does. The same thing with Brennan shit. They're the only people that own it. And the same thing with Rogan. He owns all of his shit. Nobody owns a fraction of any of that. And so I don't understand what the issue is. I don't know why. I think I read the part where he said something about why do you guys keep biting off of our stuff? Because you guys are journalists. We read your guys' information to see if you guys have any news to drop. That's what we're here for. See, we talk about the fights because we know what the fuck we're talking about when we're talking about breaking the fight down. We're talking about the rules, like with the headbutt the other day. You guys don't know that shit. You guys have to go ask other people.
No. But hold on. How many times do you see them take what we do on here?
Yeah.
And then they make a story out of it, typing whatever they want out of what we've said. And it's like, yeah, that's journalism, dude.
That's what it comes down to, Yep. And so, but the thing is that's what we go to you guys because that's your job. We're supposed to like look and read what you guys say. We don't have to. I could just off the air, off the cuff, do what we want to do as well. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. People come to us for our professional opinion and we give it to them. And if they take it, they take it. If they don't, they don't. But it's on our page. We say and do whatever the hell we want. The thing is we try to back it up with what we know of the sport from lifetime experiences. John's been doing this since UFC 1, working with the UFC, and UFC 2 being a ref, correct?
Yep.
2?
You got that right, man.
I always thought it was 3, but I guess it was 2, huh? You told me it was 2. So CTE. And then myself, man. I mean, like I said, UFC, I got signed with them in UFC 34, 35, and I didn't fight for them until UFC 44. But I've been around this game, this sport forever, and so I've seen the backdoor dealings at Calusa casinos and the Lemoore casino and other casinos across the country. And like I've been through the ringer, man, and I've seen where the sport's been and where it's come from. And John has too. Not a lot of these. I don't think any of these reporters can say that.
No,
I haven't seen, none of them have been around since the days of traveling from casino to casino, hoping the fights didn't get broke up. I mean, I remember when the Tap Out crew was pulling their trailer of clothes, to events.
Trailer?
Trying to make money.
Dude, back
they had in their
the
car.
trunk.
Yeah, in the trunk. The trunk at first.
Most people wouldn't even know who the first journalist that actually wrote something about MMA as far as when UFC 1 happened, there was a couple of sports writers that wrote something, but quickly everyone wrote off, the UFC and MMA. But there was one guy long ago that he actually came up with a magazine. It was actually a newspaper at the time, but it was a guy named Joel Gold. He was the first. Tom DeFazio.
What was it called?
Full Contact Fighter.
Full Contact
Full
Fighter.
Contact Fighter.
In New
Tom
Jersey, right?
DeFazio was his first journalist reporter, and then Loretta Hunt was one that came in. Yeah, it was out of New York and New Jersey area. DeFazio was out of New Jersey and stuff, but these are the people that started out, somewhere along UFC 10, 11, 12. They actually started, trying to do something. But, I love how, some of them they talk about, I've been there since the beginning. No, you have not, because I don't recall seeing your face, and I was there. So it's the one thing that I've got that I can sit there and I can call out all the bullshit when people say it is, because I was there. And you know what? If I don't remember seeing you, that means you probably weren't there.
Yeah. Look, this is not a dig. I'm not trying to dig at any of the journalism, okay? Any of the journalists. You guys keep doing what you're doing. All right? That's all it is. I mean, but John and I have witnessed people take exactly almost word for word what we've said on our show and use it in their own stories.
Are you
We've
kidding?
seen it
Come
multiple
on.
times.
Word for word.
Word for word, we've seen it being used several times. And what Brennan was trying to say is, like, he's been a fighter. He's built his podcast from the ground up, and he doesn't work for anyone. And sure, he's worked for Fox and then he left them, but he still owns his own shows. Then he worked for Showtime. He's still with them, I believe, right now, but he's worked for other companies. But guess what? He still owns all of his own product. How many of the journalists can say that they own any of the shit they do?
Well, and on top of that, think about it. People can say what they want about Brendan as a fighter. Man, he stepped in there and he did it. And he's got big wins. All right? Big wins. He knocked out Crow Cop. All right?
Yeah.
Now, maybe, the first thing someone's going to say, well, Crow Cop wasn't the same. Really? You step in there with him. Let's see. Okay?
Yeah.
Look, he took some ass whippings. The fight he had with Travis Brown, hey, that's a hard fight. And that's a hard fight to recover from. But he did that too and stuff. Brendan may not have been the guy that was going to be champion, but he always went out. He fucking choked out Matt Mitrione. Let's see you go out and fight against Matt Mitrione. Let me watch, because as he's knocking you the fuck out, since he's a pretty good athlete even at this age, all right, and he's got fast hands and everything. Let's see you just go ahead and beat him. I mean, when you're talking about Brendan, you can say what you want about his career. He's absolutely right. He's been in the fire. He's been there and done it. And he's all the respect in the world. He can say what he wants. That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, I'm going to leave you guys with this. I posted something on my Instagram. It's called, and you guys can go to there at The Real Punk, and I posted it today. You guys can check it out. It kind of goes in terms of where the journalists are at right now. Deep down inside, your wife and your kids, they hate the fact that you guys can't fight. Because you guys can't protect them. That's really what it comes down to. I'll leave you guys with that. No. All right, guys. So, hey, make sure you guys hit the... Yeah. Deep down inside, they're judging you. All right, guys. Make sure you guys go to ProWrestlingTees.com/weighing-in. Use the promo code ANDSTILL. Pick up one of our shirts there. And make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on our YouTube, as well as on our iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, and all the other platforms on our audio platforms. You guys can listen to us in the car when you guys are stuck in traffic or traveling. A lot of people are still traveling right now, especially with the holidays coming up. So make sure you guys plug us in once the kiddies go to sleep, because we do a little bit of cussing here and there, so I don't want them listening to that. But make sure you guys listen to us in the car as well through all of our audio platform, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. Those are all kind of our biggest platforms. Stitcher. So make sure you hit the subscribe button there, as well as on our YouTube. And when you go to our main YouTube channel, there's a link down below for our Clips channel. Hit that link there. Hit the subscribe button on our Clips. We do a show, which we're going to do right now, that goes specifically on there, called Wayne Interjection. It's a fun little 8 to 12 minute long show just for the fans that follow us on our Clips channel. It's great. It's fun. It's a little bit of like a trivia, not trivia. We do have some fun though, John. It's like, it's just real quick. It's real quick.
You guys are going to want to see this week's.
It's our opinions.
This week.
And boy,
Dave
sometimes
says he has
our
a new
opinions suck.
Dave says he has a new game for us to play on this week's show, and he says it's good. I'll be the judge of that, because on that show, I always win, and I'm the boss. It's the only time I can be the boss. All right, guys. Hey, hopefully you guys enjoy the show. John, take it away, buddy.
Everyone, thanks for listening. We will see you.